Hi, I'm Sara Abadi with Euromonitor, and today I'm hanging out with Stephen Dutton on our Consumer Foodservice team. Stephen, Consumer Foodservice is kind of a weird topic.
Yeah.
What is a more everyday term that we would recognize for what you do?
Sure, yeah. So Consumer Foodservice is basically the way that we at Euromonitor describe the restaurant industry. So we're looking in the Consumer Foodservice project at all spending that's going into the restaurant industry, and that's covering everything from the full service restaurants, fine dining, and fast casual, all the way to like street stalls and street food and unlicensed vendors and all kinds of food service opportunities in the restaurant industry. So
is there a lot of taste testing that goes on?
There is, yeah, for sure. All the new menu items from the big chains.
For the research, of course.
Of course, yeah.
So today I want to talk to you about new trends in consumer food service, which we now know is the restaurant industry, essentially.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about this project. What are you looking for, and what kind of trends are you talking about?
Yeah, so this is a really exciting project that we do every year along with our research. And basically what we like to do is we tell all of our researchers around the world, wherever they're doing their research, to spend time and go out and just find the most innovative, most exciting, most novel concepts in their market. Could be anything from a new food service app to a new delivery concept to whatever wacky kind of restaurant trends they're seeing, but a specific example of somebody who's doing something really innovative. And we do it for a contest, actually. So they submit their entries, so they work really hard to find really good ones. And we vote internally around Euromonitor on our favorite concepts. The winners get prizes. But then what I get to do is...
Real prizes or like pride and glory bragging
financial
rights?
prizes.
Oh.
Yeah. Gift cards.
To those restaurants? No.
Yeah, maybe we should do that in the future. And then after that, I have the benefit of the privilege of going through all of these different concepts. I see, and I basically try to look for patterns in the concepts that I'm seeing. Is there something that pulls them together, and can I isolate that to a region, or can I isolate that to a handful of markets here? Is it something we're seeing at a much higher level? Is it a global trend? So I'm really distilling those really important higher level trends that are coming directly out of the most innovative concepts that we've seen around the world. And so that's pretty powerful, because that's sort of the tip of the spear in terms of forward-looking trends that we might expect to come down the pipeline in the restaurant industry. And
so what were some of the trends this year?
Yeah, so we uncover lots of different trends. So the one we focused on for the white paper was technology trends. That's a big topic, not just in food service.
In everything.
In every industry.
Our lives,
Yeah. For everyone here at Euromonitor, technology is going to be an important topic. But we tried to use the new concepts that we were seeing to figure out what are the most important aspects of technology that we're seeing in the restaurant space. What strategies have operators been taking, and what do the most novel concepts mean for us? So some of the higher level trends that we saw were certainly apps and mobile strategies were an important part of this.
Around the world, not just in one region?
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. So one of the cool things about our project is that we have analysts on the ground in 55 different countries.
Wow.
So they really do have access to what's innovative in their markets. So we get apps from Israel to Australia to Thailand. So we're able to compare all these really cool different companies and see what they're doing. And some of them are small and niche and don't have a big audience.
Like
but
what?
You know what? Like maybe an app that exists in a small European country that maybe has an audience of they've partnered with 50 restaurants in the city, but they're doing something really innovative, something really cool. I can give you an example.
Please.
So there was one called Foodie Bag based in Sweden. And so it's a tech startup in the restaurant space, a third-party company that they launched an app in just Stockholm. I think they partnered with a handful of restaurants. But they were some kind of hybrid between restaurant delivery and like meal kit. Like you might think of like a Hello Fresh or a Blue Apron, something like this. But for the restaurant space. So like a consumer could open the app, they could choose a menu item off of a restaurant that exists in the city, maybe something that they've noticed before, something they like, one of their favorite restaurants. And instead of just getting it delivered to them, the restaurant would work with this company to like package up a meal kit for that specific menu item off of that in that restaurant.
And then so, I can pretend like I'm a much better chef than I am in real life.
Like maybe you know already what the outcome should be because you've had it before, you like it, but now you're constructing it yourself. You're able to kind of participate in that process, feel like the chef, et cetera.
Interesting.
And you know what? I'll be honest, who knows if that's a great idea or not? Who knows if there's a huge consumer base for that? I don't know if that's the next big thing. But I think the point is you're seeing these little concepts, these little tech companies with these really interesting ideas. They see space in the market. They see that consumers want this kind of service, or at least they think that there's a room for that. Mm-hmm. And then they provide a service for it, and we'll see where it goes. But maybe that speaks to the idea that consumers want to interact more with restaurants in their own homes. Maybe they want to, be their own chefs more often. Maybe they're more demanding from meal kit companies. They want more familiarity with the things that they're constructing.
Or it forces those meal kit companies to kind of kick it up a notch.
Indeed,
taco night again isn't going to be an option.
No, exactly. So, there's all these different market influences that we can kind of pull out of that. And so if we start to see patterns with, okay, there's that company in Sweden, but there's another company in China doing something similar, then maybe there's something to it, and we can kind of talk about that.
Was there one trend that really surprised you or stood out that you weren't expecting?
Yeah, I think, so technology is changing the industry fast. It's unrecognizable what consumers can do with restaurants using technology, using apps, using websites, all kinds of different digital channels. Unrecognizable than just 2 or 3 years ago. It's changed the industry basically. And so I think the most surprising trend for me was just understanding how the digitization of the restaurant and the restaurant experience has had such a widespread impact on consumers in all corners of the world. So we're not just talking about trends in the US or the UK or Germany or China, really tech-forward, countries. We're talking about all over the world in developing areas. Anyone with a smartphone essentially has access to these different third-party startups that are trying to do cool things in the restaurant space. And so that's where I think this project was really interesting, because we got to see all these little companies. It wasn't just the big players, it was all the little local players that are doing cool things too. So
sure. Yeah. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I know you focus on big trends that are kind of global and happening around the world and in a lot of places. Mm-hmm. But is there something that maybe hasn't caught wind yet, happening in one region and not others, but it still stood out to you?
I think for this question, a lot of people will point to trends in China. And China is such an exciting market for a lot of these sort of tech-forward companies that are working with consumers, and they're working with companies to kind of pull all these pieces together. So for me, I think what's happening in payments and what's happening in social media and what's happening with apps, and that combination of those things to provide a new sort of integrated digital service for consumers from their smartphones is incredibly forward-thinking, and it's something that we'll slowly see built out elsewhere. And China has the benefit of sort of just leapfrogging right to, everyone having a smartphone and these big tech companies that are trying to make things happen. And consumers are used to paying for their street food with mobile apps now, and they're used to paying.
So cool.
They're used to paying for it. They're used to interacting with restaurants through their social media platforms and getting loyalty programs integrated into that. And it's just a whole level of integration that we're not seeing really anywhere else. But I think we will be seeing that down the road.
Well, Stephen, thank you so much for sitting down with me. I know I certainly learned a lot about the restaurant world, consumer food service, and what's happening around the world. So we hope you found these insights interesting. And be sure to find the white paper on our blog. It's blog.euromonitor.com.